Hey everyone, welcome back. So today I wanted to take a quick look at the Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity demo that they released last week on the eShop. So primarily what I want to do today is get my first impressions, what I get from the game from this demo. So sort of a mini review, but also show you guys the gameplay, basically my playthrough of the demo itself. Now obviously we won't have time to look through the whole playthrough. By the way, for your knowledge, it took me about an hour to play through the demo. You get to play through all of Act 1 of the actual game. And if you're looking at picking up Hyrule Warriors and you're not 100% sure you're interested in the game, I strongly recommend you play through the demo because, as I said, you get to play through all of Act 1 of the actual game, and all the save data from your demo playthrough will carry over to the actual game. So all the time and effort you put into the demo is actually not lost in any way. You'll be able to carry it over directly to the real game when you buy it on November 20th. So as I'm going through this, like I said, mini review and first impressions, I'll let the gameplay play in the background so you guys can take a look at, like I said, what it looks like, the game, how it plays. However, I'll be honest, we won't have time to go through the whole 1 hour of gameplay in this video. If ever any of you are interested in me uploading just the gameplay without any commentary separately, I could do that. However, I'll only do it if I get a lot of requests in the comments. So if you are interested in that, please leave it in the comments down below and I'll upload sort of just the playthrough A through Z if some of you want to check it out. Also at the same time, if you end up liking this video, please don't forget to drop the like and subscribe if you aren't already if you want to see more of my content. So now let's get more to discussing the demo itself. So first things you really need to know is that this is a mini review. This is not a full review, obviously, because I only played through the demo, and I'm not trying to make you believe that I'll get a full impression of the game from only playing through the first act. I intend on buying the game on November 20th and doing a full review as soon as I can after I've played through at least, I'd say, a good 10 hours of the game to really get a full handle on, is this game worth it? What are the strong points? What are the low points? But at the same time, I think this demo shows us enough of the game that it'll at least get really an impression whether this game is for you or not. And that's what I want to talk about today, because Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity is probably going to attract a lot of people that played Breath of the Wild, because obviously it's situated in the Breath of the Wild universe. It's sort of a prequel to Breath of the Wild. However, at the same time, you really should not mistake this game in any way for a Breath of the Wild 2. Because although the themes, characters come from the Zelda universe, the gameplay and basically the way the whole game is set up really comes from the Warriors universe, meaning that this does not play in any way like a traditional Breath of the Wild or any other traditional Zelda game. So the primary difference with a Warriors game is that this is really a hack and slash button masher. Basically, you're 1 against 200. The point of a Warriors game is to play a hero character and you're fighting off waves and waves of mobs, which is really contrary to what we're used to in Zelda. Because in Breath of the Wild, if you had to fight a huge group of enemy characters, you actually had to think strategy before jumping in. I mean, eventually you would get powerful enough to just jump in and fight like 4 or 5 mobs at once, but you still had to think strategy. You couldn't just button mash your way out of most fights. Now for this game, Hyrule Warriors, it's the total opposite. I'm not saying that there's no strategy involved, and undoubtedly as the stages go forward, you'll probably have to get better and better at the combos in the game, but primarily, especially for the first act, if you just button mash, you can pretty much fight your way through a decent portion of the demo without even having to wonder about the combos. Obviously, I put some time into learning the combos, and by, I would say the second part of the demo, you sort of know which are your bread and butter combos, which sort of are better in which situations, and also which characters are basically better for certain fights versus other characters. And that actually leads us into the second point. This being a Warriors game, you're not only going to be controlling Link. In the demo so far, you control 3 characters. I don't want to say too many spoilers, but there's at least 3 playable characters in the demo itself, and by the end of the game, I'm pretty sure that you're going to have probably close to 10 playable characters, if not more. Now, what's really interesting about these playable characters, however, so far, is that the 3 that are in the demo, you really have a completely different playstyle with each one of the 3 characters. And basically, you right away figure out that some are better for jumping into mobs, and button mashing, while others involve a little bit more of a strategic approach to fights. But even the more strategic of the characters still involve a good deal of button mashing, and like I said, that's the point of a Warriors game. It's a hack and slash game. Now, if it sounds like I'm harping on the game, I'm not in any way. I actually really, really like the demo, and I'm really, really looking forward to the release of the game on November 20th. However, I just want to put it out there that, like I said at the beginning of this whole rant, this is not Breath of the Wild 2. And someone buying it just to be the next Zelda game is probably going to be disappointed. Because so far in the game, there's little elements of strategy, but there's absolutely no puzzle solving. So if what you love about Zelda is dungeon crawling, puzzle solving, I'm not sure this game is going to have any of those elements in it. Previous Warriors games didn't really have any of those elements, and from what we see in the demo, it doesn't seem like it's lining up for any of that either. Which is why, at the beginning I said, if you are a huge Zelda fan, you've never played a Warriors game, please download this demo and play it before buying the game to make sure that you don't wind up returning it a day later. Okay, so now that we have all of that out of the way, let's talk about what's really awesome about the game so far. Number 1, the action is over the top, it's really fun, and it's really easy to pick up. Of course, some characters, like I said, are harder than others so far to pick up. My favorite of the 3 characters is the first one you play with, which is Link, because he's the most straightforward of the characters. And so far, to my feeling, he also seems like the most overpowered of the characters, but I think it's that way by design, where they want Link to feel like one of the strongest characters in the game. And as you work your way through the demo so far, Link seems like the most balanced of the characters. He has combos basically for cloud clearing, he has combos for closing the gap when enemies are further away, and his abilities seem to be the most versatile in every type of situation. So it's really a fun gameplay, and it's easy to pick up, especially if you're going to focus primarily on playing as Link. However, the game does sort of push you to switch characters eventually, because that's another strong point of the game so far, is that often the objectives on the map are very separate, but this time you can actually control where the AI sends the other characters in the game. Meaning that while you're clearing one objective, you can actually ask one of the other hero characters to make its way to objective B, meaning that as soon as you clear objective A, you switch over to that character and he's already at objective B, and you basically just take control of him to complete the objective. It makes it for a really fun gameplay. It also makes it so far for different strategies. Obviously, I'm expecting further in the game, you're maybe going to want to sometimes group the hero characters together when the objectives are tougher, and at other times when you know that the objectives are far apart, to not spend half the game just walking from one end of the map to the other. Well, you're able to shorten your objectives by sending different heroes to different areas of the map. What also seems really fun in this game is they've really well integrated the Breath of the Wild universe. Like I said, even though the gameplay ends up being a pure Warriors game, like I said, hack and slash, they still integrate all the elements of Breath in the Wild. Whether it be the bow, the Sheikah slate, all that comes perfectly integrated into the world. And at the same time, even by the end of the demo, you see that they bring a fair amount of fresh elements to the game as well, which weren't in Breath of the Wild, but don't seem out of place either. And one of those elements are the way you complete side missions. And the demo is pretty restrictive. You don't have dozens of side missions, you've got about 4 or 5 that you can do. But basically, some missions are just accomplished by picking up objects during your playthrough and then basically paying them out to a character to get a certain bonus. Whether it be an item, whether it be access to a new ability. For example, one of the first ones I unlocked were the blacksmiths, which actually allows you to fuse your weapons that you've picked out through your gameplay to make your main weapons more powerful. And I'm pretty sure that by the end of the game, a lot of the progression in the game is going to center around being able to properly upgrade your weapons and basically help your progress through the game. Also, this game seems very story driven, which is a good thing for Breath of the Wild, because their point, I think, is to really fill in the gaps of how the Great Calamity came about. And even from this demo, you have some pretty long cutscenes that really flesh out the storyline. So even though the gameplay is fairly quick, straightforward, and doesn't go into too many details story-wise, the cutscenes really fill in the gaps and fill in the story and make you feel like it's a Zelda universe game. Now, from the demo, that's pretty much what I was able to grasp from the game. And before we go, there's only maybe one issue so far that has disappointed me about the game, other than the fact that, you know, like I said, you just have to be aware that it is not a traditional Zelda game. There's no puzzle solving for the moment. Maybe there will be small elements added further on, but there's another element I wanted to touch on, and that was the frame rate. At some points in the game, and other people have pointed out to this as well, the frame rate seems to drop and be inconsistent. Of course, don't forget this is a demo. The game is releasing, you know, like almost a month after the demo released. They'll have time to work on that, and you know, you might even get a day one patch to fix most of these issues. But for the moment, especially during certain cutscenes, oddly enough, there seems to be some serious frame rate issues with the game. Not enough to ruin the gameplay, but enough that you notice it. So it's something to keep in mind, and hopefully they're going to work on it before the release of the game, and they'll have all this ironed out. So with that, I think it pretty much goes around what I wanted to say in this mini review. Like I said, I would really appreciate your comments down below to see if you want me to upload, like I said, that 1 hour gameplay where I finished the 2 main missions basically. If you do, I'll try and upload it in a separate video. At the same time, as I said earlier, don't forget to drop the like, subscribe if you aren't already, and as usual, I hope I'll see you guys in my next video.